I pulled onto my street expecting the usual calm, and instead found my driveway completely blocked. A woman wearing an HOA vest stood there like she owned the entire neighborhood, smirking at me. Then she waved over what she called HOA security, some guy in a fake-looking uniform, and told me I wasn't authorized to park at my own house. I laughed at first, right up until the guy reached for handcuffs, and I realized the situation was about to turn dangerous. That afternoon, I was already worn down. Work had been a disaster. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with missed calls and notifications. All I wanted was to pull into my driveway, shut the car door, and breathe for a minute. The sun was hanging low, the air still warm, and for a brief second I felt lucky. The street looked peaceful. No kids screaming, no dogs barking, no delivery vans clogging the road. Then I turned the corner and saw it. A silver SUV was parked straight across the mouth of my driveway, like a barricade, not partially blocking it, not angled awkwardly, fully, deliberately blocking it. My driveway is narrow, with a shallow ditch running along one side. There was no squeezing around, no creative maneuvering. It felt like someone had slapped a lock on my own home. My first thought was that there had been an emergency. I flipped on my hazard lights and stepped out, scanning the street for someone waving me down. Instead, I saw her. She stood on the sidewalk near my mailbox, arms crossed, watching me like she'd been waiting all day for this moment. She wasn't subtle about it. Late 40s, maybe, hair pulled tight, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. That smile, the kind that never reaches the eyes. She wore a bright blue vest with HOA printed across it in bold white letters, like something ordered online overnight. She called out before I even reached the driveway. "You can't park here." I actually looked behind me, half expecting her to be talking to someone else. "What?" She pointed at my driveway with one stiff finger. "That space is restricted. You need authorization to park in HOA-controlled zones." I blinked. "My driveway is an HOA control zone." She stepped closer, chin lifted. "Yes, we've had complaints." "Complaints," I repeated. "About me parking at my own house?" I tried to laugh it off, because the alternative was losing my temper, and I could already feel the heat building in my chest. She didn't laugh. She didn't blink. "You're violating neighborhood compliance. I'm HOA enforcement." Those words hit harder than they should have. Yes, my neighborhood has an HOA. And yes, they're annoying. They'll email you if your trash bin is visible 6 hours too long. They'll complain if your grass looks slightly tired. But they do not block your driveway. And no one in the HOA enforces rules by physically trapping you. I said it slowly and clearly. "Move your vehicle. You're blocking my driveway. That's illegal." Her smile sharpened. "It's not illegal when it's for enforcement purposes." That's when I noticed a detail that made my stomach drop. The SUV had a cheap magnetic sign slapped on the door. It read HOA security. The letters were crooked, like someone rushed it. I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling the police." She waved her hand dismissively. "Go ahead. We have our own security. They'll handle it." I stared at her. "Your own what?" Right on cue, like the whole thing had been rehearsed, a man stepped out from between two parked cars across the street. He was big, not muscular, just heavy, thick arms, rigid posture. He wore a black shirt with security printed across the chest in yellow letters, and a badge on a chain that looked like it came from a carnival prize booth. On his belt were handcuffs, a radio, and what looked like a holster. My brain did that strange thing where it tries to convince you that you're misunderstanding reality. This was my street, my house, my driveway, and this guy was walking toward me like he was about to arrest me for trying to park at home. Karen, because I already knew she was a Karen, tilted her head and announced loudly, "This resident is refusing compliance. I need you to escort him off HOA property." The security guy stopped a few feet away and looked me up and down like I was a problem to be managed. "Sir, you need to step away from the restricted area." I held up my keys. "Restricted area? That's my driveway. I live there." I nodded toward my front door, where my house number was clearly visible. He didn't even look. "Step away." Karen folded her arms, clearly enjoying herself. He thinks rules don't apply to him. Typical. Something inside me snapped. Not anger, clarity. Sharp and cold. This wasn't normal HOA nonsense. This was a setup, a power play. And those handcuffs weren't a prop. I took a slow breath. What's your name and what company are you with? He puffed his chest. HOA Security Division. That's not a company. Karen jumped in immediately. You don't need his company. He's authorized by the board. I know the board, I said. I've been to meetings. I've emailed them. None of them hired this. Her face twitched just slightly, a crack in that smug mask. We voted. You weren't present. That's on you. I started recording. I didn't announce it. I just raised my phone, angled it to catch both of them, and spoke calmly. So you're saying you have authority to block my driveway, and you're saying you can detain me? Karen leaned toward the camera, like she wanted history to remember her. Yes, HOA enforcement. You're trespassing. I looked at the security guy. Are you a police officer? He hesitated. Half a second too long. I have authority. That's not what I asked. I said evenly. Do you have a state-issued license? Are you deputized? Are you a sworn officer? He tapped his badge like that settled it. Sir, you are refusing a lawful order. My heart started pounding. Those words weren't accidental. Lawful order. He'd practiced that. The more he spoke, the clearer it became. He wanted me to believe he was real law enforcement. Karen tilted her head again. Last warning. Leave the area. If you force this, security will remove you. I laughed, but it came out tight. Remove me from my own property. In front of my house. From a driveway you blocked. The security guy's hand drifted toward his cuffs, not grabbing them, just resting there, a quiet threat wrapped in plastic. That was the moment I knew one wrong move could flip the situation fast. So I did the one thing none of them expected. I stepped back, lowered my phone a few inches. Okay, no problem. I said evenly, I'll call the sheriff. Karen scoffed. Call whoever you want. It won't change anything. HOA authority. But her eyes flicked toward the security guy and his jaw tightened. Tightened like he'd suddenly remembered something important. I dialed anyway. Right there, on speaker. I gave my address. Told dispatch someone was blocking my driveway and claiming authority to detain me. I described the uniform. I described the badge. I repeated the phrase lawful order. Dispatch did not sound amused. Is anyone armed? I glanced at the man's belt and chose my words carefully. He appears to have a holster. Karen cut in loudly, trying to hijack the call. He is not armed. He's HOA security. Dispatch came back sharper. Ma'am, do not interfere with this call. For the first time, Karen's face drained of color. The security guy shifted his stance, suddenly unsure. He took a step back, like the pavement beneath him had turned hot. And then Karen did something that chilled me more than the cuffs ever had. She leaned toward my phone and said clearly, confidently, like she was playing her final card, tell them we already have an officer on scene. I froze. An officer? I asked. She pointed at the man beside her. Yes, HOA security officer. The man swallowed hard. I looked at him again. Really looked. The badge, the phrasing, the posture. The way he kept using law enforcement language. And in that instant, the situation shifted in my mind from ridiculous HOA nonsense to something much darker. Blocking my driveway was petty. Threatening to detain me was insane. But claiming to be an officer? That was a crime. And the distant sound of sirens growing louder told me Karen had no idea what she just confessed. On my recording, the first sheriff's cruiser turned onto my street slower than I expected. He puffed his chest, but the confidence was draining now. HOA security officer. The deputy's eyebrow twitched. Karen jumped in fast. Yes, he's our officer. He enforces HOA rules. The deputy looked at her for a long moment. Ma'am, do not answer for him. Then back to the man. Are you a sworn law enforcement officer? The man swallowed. I have authority. That's not an answer. Silence stretched. A lawn sprinkler clicked 2 houses down. No, the man finally said. I'm private security. The second cruiser arrived then, pulling in behind the first. A younger deputy stepped out, eyes immediately locking on the handcuffs. The first deputy pointed at the belt. Why are you carrying restraints? For safety, the man muttered. Safety for who? Karen laughed nervously. Officer, this is being blown out of proportion. He didn't actually detain anyone. I spoke up, keeping my voice steady. He threatened to, and he used the phrase lawful order. Both deputies looked at him again. The younger one asked, Did you tell this man you were an officer? The security guy shook his head too fast. No, sir. Karen snapped. I never said police officer. I said security officer. The deputy turned to her slowly. Ma'am, you told dispatch you already had an officer on scene. Her face flushed. That's semantics. No, the deputy said flatly. It's not. He gestured toward the SUV. Move the vehicle. Now. The man hurried toward it like he was grateful for something to do. As he moved, the magnetic sign peeled at one corner, flapping uselessly while he cleared my driveway. The deputy pulled me aside. Did they prevent you from accessing your property? Yes. Did they threaten arrest or detention? Yes. And did either of them claim authority they didn't have? I nodded. It's all on video. Karen's head snapped toward us. You're recording? I didn't answer. The SUV rolled forward, clearing my driveway. The moment it did, the younger deputy stepped closer to the man. Sir, turn around. He froze. Why? For investigation. Karen rushed over. This is ridiculous. He didn't do anything. The first deputy raised a hand. Ma'am, step back. She didn't. This is HOA jurisdiction. The deputy looked her dead in the eye. There is no such thing. The cuffs went on the man, firm, controlled, final. His shoulders sagged like reality had finally landed. Karen's voice went shrill. You can't arrest him. He works for us. The deputy answered calmly. He impersonated an officer. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. And you, the deputy added, turning to her, may have aided him. That's when she panicked. She started talking fast about rules, about power, about how someone had to keep order because people like him. She pointed at me. Don't respect authority. The deputies exchanged a look. Ma'am, one said, place your hands behind your back. She laughed hysterically. You're joking. I am not. The street seemed to stop breathing. Karen backed up one step. Then another. This is harassment. Hands behind your back. She looked around like someone would rescue her. No one did. As the cuffs closed around her wrists, the vest suddenly looked cheap and fake, just like everything else she claimed that day. As she was led toward the cruiser, she finally looked at me. Not smug, not angry, just scared. Wait, you don't understand why I did this. It was the first thing she'd said that sounded remotely honest. Her voice cracked, thin, desperate. You don't understand why I did this. The deputy paused at the cruiser door, opened, and looked at me. Do you want to hear her out? Every instinct said no. 10 minutes earlier, she'd trapped me at my own house and tried to erase me like I didn't belong. But curiosity, the same thing that had kept me calm once again, won. I nodded. The cuff stayed on. She took a shaky breath. This house used to be mine. That hit harder than I expected. She stared at my front door like it was a ghost. I lived there 12 years. Before the divorce. Before the foreclosure. Before I lost everything. Something shifted in my chest. Not sympathy. Understanding. The kind that snaps the past into focus. When I saw your car here months ago, she continued, when I saw someone else living in my house, it made me sick. You didn't change anything. Same paint. Same lights. Even the mailbox. The deputy raised an eyebrow. That doesn't give you the right. I know, she snapped and deflated. I know, but the HOA was the only power I had left. They listened to me. They always did. I finally felt heard. So you blocked my driveway to control me. I said. She met my eyes. Because I wanted him. She nodded toward the man on the curb. To scare you. To make you leave. Just once. The man stared at her. You said this was official. She didn't look at him. I lied. That was enough. The younger deputy read her rights while the older one reviewed my video. Every phrase, every badge flash, every claim of authority. It all fit. Impersonation, false detention, obstruction. As Karen was placed into the cruiser, she finally cried. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, defeated sobs. Before the door closed, she looked at me one last time. I never meant for it to go this far. I met her gaze. You did the moment you tried to take my freedom. The cruiser pulled away. The street returned to normal. Birds, wind, a neighbor pretending not to stare. The deputy handed my phone back. You handled that exactly right. I pulled into my driveway. My driveway, finally clear, and as I shut off the engine, one thought stayed with me longer than the fear ever had. Sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't authority. It's someone who's lost everything and decides to pretend they still have it. If you enjoyed this story, hit the subscribe button. Every subscription helps me bring you more intense and satisfying HOA stories. Don't forget to tap the bell so you never miss an upload. I'll see you in the next one, where justice hits even harder.